Hi and welcome to the second part of the tutorial of how to make a trap beat in Ableton start to finish using only Ableton instruments. I'm Pizza, I'm a guest here at PML and I'm going to show you how the drum part of this template is made. You can buy the full template in the link in the description, and now let's just give it a quick listen. Alright, so in the first part we focused on the instruments part of this template. We made 5 tracks and grouped them. This is the end result of the first part. Alright, so now we are going to take a look at the drums. So right click in this gray area, click Insert MIDI clip. Alright, so the first thing we're going to focus on will be the A08 bass. If you download all the files in the description, you will get this folder. You can drag the A08.AIF to your Ableton project in here. This device is called a Simpler. What we will do now is just dragging a MIDI file from this folder, which is called A08 bass, so that we don't have to insert it manually. So this is what it sounds like at first. We need a few tweaks to this A08 bass, so first of all let's set the voices to 1. Let's turn off the warping. Go to controls and turn portamento on. Set the time to around 190. Another important thing, set the release up so that we have a true legato between all these notes. Another key thing will be to turn up the attack a little bit. Alright, this sounds fine. Now what we will do is just creating a new MIDI track and dragging a kick on there. So let's take a kick.wave, dropping it in here. And this is what the kick sounds like. Nothing too fancy. We will take this MIDI clip from the A08 bass, hold Alt or Option, drag it onto the kick track. So what this will enable us to do is to set the kicks exactly when the A08 bass hits. Alright, so I'll just show you what I mean by that. So all of these notes we want to set to C3. If you're not in this view of Ableton, you have to press Shift Tab to go from this view of the sample to the clip view if you've already selected the clip. Alright? So next thing, just setting all these notes to C3. If you want to quickly jump between octaves in here, you can just hold Shift and the down arrow. Yeah, this should work. Let's now give it a listen, both tracks. Something is clicking in here. Alright, so what we need to do now, so that the click is gone, we need to sidechain this track, this A08 bass to the kick. If you don't have these effects going on in here, don't worry. Just take an audio effect called compressor, type in compressor in here, drag the compressor in here, click this arrow, click sidechain audio from the kick. So, and drag the threshold down. So let's hear what happens now. So when the kick is playing, the 808 bass volume goes down, basically. It's working. You can mess around with the threshold, the attack and everything, but we won't do that right now. Next thing, this time we're going to take this snare, that wave, this is what the snare sounds like. You don't have to even insert a new MIDI clip for this one, we will just drag a snare drum MIDI clip, don't insert the tempo, and this is what it should sound like by now. What we can drag onto the snare is a reverb effect. Just filtering it a little bit like this. Bringing the dry wet knob down. Sounds fine to me. Right, good. Next thing, we can just mess around with the snares, so just inserting a new MIDI track, dragging a snare shot somewhere in here, here it is, in here, and dragging a MIDI clip called snare roll in here, and duplicating it by pressing Command D. So this is what we can do now, so that we have a snare roll instead of just a single sound in here. You can do it your way, for example, duplicating these 4 elements in here, like this. But I will do it my way, so I will take an arpeggiator from MIDI effects and drag it on the snare sound. Like this, setting the rate to 1/24. Alright, next thing, I will turn on a utility. If you don't have it already on the track, you can drag it onto the track. And just setting the automation on the gain, like this. Selecting this area in here, pressing Command D to duplicate it all over the place. Sounds fine to me. So next thing, we will make trap hi-hats. So inserting a MIDI track and dragging a hi-hat sound in there. Hi-hat closed one at first. So here it is. And what we'll do now is just selecting the simpler device in here, clicking Command G to group it. And what will this enable us to do is to play 2 samples simultaneously when we are having this track enabled. Right now, this device is playing only 1 sample, but when we will drag another sample in here, we will play both of these samples simultaneously. We can also drag an arpeggiator on there. When we will now hold an A key on your keyboard, for example, or the C3 key, basically, and automating a rate knob, we will have basically trap hi-hats. I will just record a quick clip and we'll edit it in a minute. So I will trim it and set it like this. Click Command U to adjust it to the grid, and I will do a fancy effect right now. So I will show the automation of the sync button and turn it off in here, so that the rate changes to milliseconds, Now I will automate the rate of the arpeggiator like this. It's faster in the beginning and then it goes into 1/16. And I want to do the same thing at the end, so just automating this like this and automating the rate. So what I did now is I changed the automation so that it plays faster in here. Just look at the automation of this rate knob in here. So it goes up at first, then it switches to sync, goes 1/16 in this area, then it goes back to the free mode, and it's faster in here, then it's duplicated 4 times. Right? Next thing we will throw on this hi-hat sound is an EQ. So an EQ8, it will be a high-pass filter like this. Sounds good. Next thing we will insert an audio track, and we will take the hi-hats sample. So this was a MIDI loop, so it was an audio loop already pre-recorded. We will just set the warping right on this loop like this, set it to triplet, warp it properly, should sound fine. So we will duplicate it 4 times, and what we want to do now is what I did. We don't have to do this basically, but I did something like I sidechained these hi-hats to these hi-hats. So I turned on sidechain, or dragged on a new compressor and clicked this arrow in here, turned on sidechain, and sidechained it to 12 audio. Like this, brought down the threshold, brought up the ratio, so selling this track as well. Alright, this sounds good to me. It's interesting at least. So an EQ8 also on the second track, high pass like this. We're clipping a little bit. Let's hear how all the sounds together. Sounds good to me. We can just now mess around with various things, like we can add effects in there. So what I'll do now, I'll just group all these tracks that we've created, click Command G, rename it by clicking Command R, type in drums. 808, this is a kick, snare, this will be hi-hats, and this will be hi-hats too. Alright, good. You can change the colors as you like, and have fun creating your own patterns from my ideas, basically. What I will show you right now is how all these sounds are laid out in this template. So, for example, let's first take a look at the instruments part. And here we have the pianos with an additional support instrument. This is some noise recording in here, just to add some better vibe to the sounds. This is the guitar loop, and this is all together, all these sounds. Pretty similar to the result of the first part. And in here we've got the drums. You don't have to create exactly my pattern. So So there are some hi-hats added, just some additional tweaking done to this track, and there's a whole another section. Basically what is done here for more advanced music makers, I've got another group in here, which is called duck, which consists basically of the kick and the snare and a couple additional instruments, like this sound in here, which is then sends signal to a compressor, a sidechain compressor on this duct group, which is being, which volume is lowered when this ducking group is playing. So all together. This is what it sounds like. You can mess around and just create your own track from my ideas. Encouraging you to do that. Of course, you can recreate my own track. I recommend buying this template because you'll get all these ideas in place and you can just look at everything in here, how I made all of these sounds, and some additional instruments are added in here, for example in Massive. This strings preset, for example. Alright, so if you're interested, go ahead and buy the template. It was a pleasure to explain to you guys how I made this, the basics, and I hope you learned something in this tutorial. Another thing, I will be giving private lessons through Skype, so if you're interested in making some music with me, just go ahead and drop us an email and we'll be happy to respond to you. Anyway, signing off, it was Pizza bringing a tutorial of how I made a track called Lunacy.